Tom, I thought if it's okay, I'd like to start. I just saw the new Leger poll asking Canadians if there were an election today, and this was taken only a few days ago.
Yeah.
Am I wrong here? I thought the Conservatives had been ahead fairly significantly for the last two or three. This one actually shows the Liberals ahead of the Conservatives. Voting intentions here. What do you think?
It's always been in the margin of error recently. There were a couple of outliers that had the Conservatives 5-6 points ahead. Things are settling down. I'm not convinced that either of them's got a lead over the other. The campaign is going to decide it, just like we saw in Alberta on Monday. It was too close to call, according to the pollsters, and then boom, 8% win for the Conservatives. Why? The last 2 weeks of the campaign, they kept Danielle Smith under a lid. On the last weekend of the campaign, where you're usually doing 12 events a day, she wasn't allowed out. They just didn't let her out. It had gone well so far. Let the organizers organize. Please stay away from this. We don't need your help. And she won. And so that's what's going to happen, if depending on the timing. Poilievre's handlers, if they can finally get a handle on him, are going to say, look, if you don't change, if you remain that raspy, fingernails on the blackboard type that loves, goading people, you're not going to win. People don't like that, especially in Quebec, by the way. His numbers are awful. So if he wants to have a chance, he's going to have to start appearing to be prime ministerial. And prime minister material has to change attitudes, which is exactly what Danielle Smith just pulled off, by the way. I think that that's where we're heading. I think that Trudeau is a gambler. I've always thought, and there are a couple of people who are starting to agree with me, that there was a real possibility that he's going to go this fall. He's going to see how it works out this summer. He's test driving some of his lines. He's not very good at attack, and it's actually a compliment to Trudeau to say he's not good at attack because he doesn't like personal attacks. So he's not good at it. Poilievre is very good at it because he thrives on it. So it's going to be interesting to see if Trudeau finds a couple of pit bulls that he can send in, or if he's going to keep trying to do this himself, because as I say, it's not a very good result when he tries to do it himself.
So you think this is a margin of error story still, despite the fact the Liberals are just a little bit ahead? This is really not much different than what we've seen up until now.
The Liberals have a more efficient vote. It's better spread out. So if you're in Alberta and you win all those ridings for the Conservatives by 15,000 votes, it's still one riding. You win the downtown Toronto vote by 1,500 votes, it's still one riding. So that's the name of the game. Where I see Poilievre having his biggest chance at a breakthrough, because there are a lot of cultural communities. We tend to think, well, because they're new Canadians and the Liberals have been, had a very open approach over the years, they tend to drift Liberal. But on things like legalization of marijuana, you have to know some of those cultural communities the way I do, because you get to know them well when you've been in politics, as I have. And I can tell you honestly, a lot of them were very upset about the legalization of marijuana. They're upset about crime in the streets. These are all themes that are very good for Poilievre in talking to those cultural communities. So don't believe that the Liberals have a lock on the ethno-cultural community vote in a place like the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, 50 seats in the next election. They're going to decide the election. Don't want to take anything away from our 78 seats here in Quebec, but Greater Toronto Area decides Canadian elections.
Okay, we've discussed before how Trudeau likes the fight and he kind of lights up. So I'm wondering, is he looking at these numbers and saying, bring it on? Like he feels like he's up for this challenge, or is he kind of going, ooh, shoot?
Here's my bold prediction. Tear up the recording if it doesn't work. My bold prediction is this: that Trudeau, once he's got about 6 or 8 pieces of legislation, he does not want to see just dry up and blow away. So he's going to push hard on Mark Holland to get this stuff through the House and through the Senate. He's got a couple of weeks to do that. Their last day is June 23rd. From there, he could easily, almost immediately pull the plug, because it's going to be a torture session for the Liberals all summer long. When there's no news, any news you can generate gets super coverage. So the Conservatives, the Bloc, and the NDP, to the extent that they can do any of this because they're in bed with the Liberals, but they're going to be convening meetings of parliamentary committees all summer. And they can do that, especially in a minority government situation. Bring them in, give them mandates all around the Chinese government interference, all the really delicate things for the Liberals that they don't want to talk about. If he prorogues, you remember that in Stephen Harper when he went to see Michael Jean? If they prorogue, and they did it once before when they were in trouble with the We Charity scandal, and it worked. Mm-hmm. They come back, they've hit reset. What happens is any remaining legislation lapses. They'd have to reintroduce it. There's a new throne speech, and none of those committees can sit during the summer because they're not constituted anymore. All of the ministers remain ministers. They can fly across the country, having their picture taken, giving out checks. Trudeau can do the barbecue secret, tour and not have anybody following him around. If he wants to do that, he's going to pay a small political price for it right away, but he'll have the summer basically for himself and his ministers. Then he gets to call the following. At the end of, as they're heading back in September, he's got to plan a throne speech. He gives them a bit of leeway for when he reconvenes Parliament. And if he's liking his numbers and he doesn't want to give the megaphone back to Pierre Poilievre in the House, because Poilievre is superb in question period against Trudeau, let's just admit that, then if he doesn't want to give him that megaphone and, that soapbox to stand on, he pulls the plug and he says, okay, see you at the end of October. We're having an election, come what may. And that's Natasha, is the type of Trudeau behavior I've seen. All in. Okay, you guys are telling me I shouldn't go. He's going to talk to his organizers, say, you've got 6 weeks to pull this thing together. Go rent my planes. We're on our way.
Wow.
Let me move us closer to home. Today's June 1st, Tom. You know that means the provisions, some of them in Bill 96, take effect today. You, of course, sent that picture yesterday from that courthouse in Sept-Îles, I guess it was. Well, today in Montreal, and I don't know if you've heard this up until now or heard it already.
311.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
So this is what it is for people who haven't. If you call 311, to complain about or access city services, this is now the message you're going to get effective today.
In accordance with the Charter of the French language, we will be pleased to provide service in English. If you attest in good faith that you are covered by one of the following exceptions: if you are a person declared eligible to receive English education, if you are an Indigenous person, if you are a recently arrived immigrant residing in Quebec for less than 6 months, if you are calling from outside of Quebec, or if you corresponded solely in English with the City of Montreal prior to May 13th, 2021. If you attest in good faith, please press 2. Otherwise, please press 1.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you're lying, press 3, but they don't give you that option. Look, first of all, tell me what you think of this. And second of all, I think they should change. I said this when I first heard it. Instead of saying we'd be pleased to provide service in English, be honest, say you'll grudgingly provide service in English.
Look, this is the type of thing that when it becomes like, they will play this on some of the nightly news/humor shows in the United States. And when that starts getting played there, that is hilarious. Just listening to that, it's hilarious. It's sad. It's frustrating. It represents the worst of this wonderful place that we call home. And it's absolutely nuts. It's completely crazy to have that. Think of the company that's hiring the Australian engineer who's going to come and help them do this thing. And the guy arrives, and after 6 months, you're supposed to have enough French to be able to deal with any service in the city of Montreal or anything else for that matter. And they deny it every time they get caught. I know Eric Girard has been briefed by people who know what Bill 96 does to the English health and social service sector. He had the nerve yesterday to say nothing changes. It's just like it's not good faith anymore. This is talking about declaring yourself in good faith to be a member of the English speaking community. But think of what we're doing. Go back. The other thing that came into force is that a business with 7 employees, the employer with 0 professional competence to make this sort of evaluation is supposed to evaluate the French knowledge of his employees individually and report that on an official website where people who have all sorts of different bad intentions are going to have access to that information to make their lives miserable in every way possible. This is completely nuts.
I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't think we need to go farther, although I will tell for people listening, that was the city's website. If you go to the city's page, montreal.ca online, there is an English option, but when you go to it, it's now flagged with a warning that says, who can view this page? This content is intended for the public covered by the exceptions under Bill 96.
But they might as well put XXX on it and say it's for 18 and over. It's complete.
Yeah, you're right.
It's embarrassing. It's just embarrassing.